Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on how the most successful organizations on the planet really get things done. And here's a hint, it isn't magic. It's something way more powerful and practical. It's all about business processes. We're going to take a journey from total chaos to crystal clarity and hopefully give you a brand new lens to see how the world of work, well, works. Let's dive in. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been stuck in one of those customer service nightmares, getting bounced from department to department where nobody seems to have a clue what's going on? Or maybe you've worked inside a company where just getting a simple approval feels like you're trying to solve an impossible puzzle. You know, that feeling of frustration it's universal, and it's almost always a symptom of a much deeper problem with how that organization is actually put together. To really get to the solution, we first have to understand the problem. And the problem, you could say the villain of our story, is the old traditional way of organizing a company. This is the classic model you see everywhere. It's structured by function. So you've got your marketing department, your sales team, your operations folks, and so on. And as you see here, each one basically acts like its own little fortress, totally optimized to do its own specific tasks really well. The focus is completely internal. But here's the catch. The actual work that a customer pays for doesn't just live inside one of those fortresses. No, it has to cross over all those departmental walls. And that's exactly where everything starts to break down, creating delays, mistakes, and a whole lot of frustration. And right here, you can see the fundamental conflict laid out perfectly. On the left, you have that traditional model. It's all about an internal focus, a top-down vertical command structure, and breaking work into these tiny, fragmented tasks. But the process model on the right? That's a total revolution in thinking. The focus shifts from what are we doing inside to what does the customer need. The flow of work moves from vertical silos to a smooth horizontal flow. And the way you manage that work shifts from looking at isolated tasks to owning the entire end-to-end journey. This is the absolute core difference. So this big shift introduces the real hero of our story, the process-oriented organization. It's a complete flip in perspective. You stop asking, how do we run our departments? And you start asking, how do we deliver amazing value to our customer? The whole guiding principle here is to create a super clear, direct path straight to that customer. The focus moves away from all those internal departments and instead zeroes in on the journey of creating value. In this model, the customer truly becomes the center of the universe. Every single decision gets measured against a few simple goals. Can we deliver a better product or service? Can we do it faster? And can we do it at a lower cost? And you get there by managing and optimizing that entire end-to-end flow of work. Now, if you're going to manage work horizontally across all those old department lines, you need a totally new kind of leader. Someone has to be responsible for that entire flow, and we call that person the process owner. This job is fundamentally different from a traditional department manager. The process owner is on the hook for the whole journey, from the very first step to the final delivery. They have the authority to knock down those walls between departments and make sure the whole process is actually meeting and hopefully exceeding what the customer needs. All right, so we've been throwing this word process around a lot. Let's just pause for a second and nail down a crystal clear definition. Because, understanding what a process truly is, well, that's the key to ever being able to manage it. Okay, here it is, the core definition. A business process is a series of logically related activities that use an organization's resources to create something of value for a customer. The two most important words there are transformation and value. A process takes some kind of input, like a customer request or raw materials, and through a series of steps, it transforms it into a much more valuable output. It is the engine that creates value in any organization. Let's make this super real with an example we can all relate to, renewing your driver's license. So, the input, that's your old expiring license. The output you want, your new, valid license. The process is the renewal itself, all the steps you take. And of course, to make that happen, the process needs resources. The people working there, their computers, the camera, all of it. And this all happens within a certain context. In this case, the government regulations that set all the rules. Every single business process has these same basic building blocks. And if we zoom in on that renewal process, you see the specific activities, right? You have to schedule an appointment, maybe do a medical exam, pay the fee, get that lovely photo taken, maybe pass a test, and finally, get your results. These are the logically connected steps that transform that input, the old license, into the output, the new one. When you see it all laid out like this, you start to realize that processes are absolutely everywhere, even if they're often hidden or, let's be honest, totally disorganized. So if these processes are all around us, how do we actually see them? How do we understand them, measure them, and make them better? Well, we need a map. We need a blueprint. This quote just nails it. The whole point of a model is that it's a simplified version of reality. A process model isn't the process itself, just like a map of a city isn't the city. But it is an absolutely essential tool for understanding that city, for analyzing it, for talking about it, and ultimately for making it better. Think about it this way. Nobody in their right mind would try to build a house without a blueprint, right? The blueprint makes the whole structure visible. It shows how the walls, the plumbing, the electrical, how it all fits together. A process model does the exact same thing, but for work. It is the blueprint that takes that invisible, tangled flow of tasks and makes it visible, so that anyone can understand it and improve it. So why is this blueprint so valuable? Well, once you have it, you can do some amazing things. You can make incredibly complicated work easy for everybody to understand. You can finally measure it. How long does this actually take? Where are our bottlenecks? You can even run what-if scenarios to test out changes without breaking the real thing. It lets you standardize the best way to get things done and gives you the foundation for any and all future improvements. Okay, so now we get what processes are and why we need to model them. Let's build our final toolkit. This is a framework that you can use to analyze pretty much any process in any organization. First thing to know, not all processes are created equal. They generally fall into one of three buckets. You've got your key processes. These are the main event, the ones that directly create and deliver value to your paying customer, like shipping and order. Then you have support processes. These don't touch the customer directly, but they are absolutely essential for the key processes to work. Think of HR hiring the very people who ship those orders. And finally, you have managerial processes. These are used to measure, monitor, and control everything else, like setting the budgets or tracking performance. Second, processes aren't just static. They evolve. They go on a journey up this maturity scale. They almost always start at level 1 as ad hoc and pretty chaotic. Over time, they might become repetitive, but still informal at level 2. The first huge leap is to level 3, where the process gets standardized and documented. That's where you get your blueprint. At level 4, it becomes measured and data-driven. And finally, at the very top, level 5, it is actively managed and always being optimized. The goal for any great organization is to push its key processes up this ladder. And the last piece of our toolkit is realizing you can look at processes from different altitudes. At the very top, you have the macro process, which is that huge, big picture view, maybe something that crosses the whole company. Then you can zoom in to a specific process, then a sub-process, an activity, and all the way down to a single individual task. This hierarchy lets you analyze work from the 30,000-foot view or get down to the microscopic level, depending on what problem you're trying to solve. So ultimately, the journey we've just taken is from the total confusion of siloed companies where work is hidden and broken to the absolute clarity of a process-oriented world. It's a world where work is visible, where it's measurable, and where it's organized around the one thing that actually matters, delivering incredible value to the customer. Look, this isn't just some theory for big corporations. It's a new way of seeing the world, from how you get your morning coffee, to how that package shows up at your door, to how your own work gets done every single day. The entire world is run by processes. So the question isn't whether these processes exist. The real question is, now that you have the blueprint, how will you start to see them?